What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking you through the brand new chopping feature on the SP404 MK2. So this is another exciting update that Roland have included in this box. I've been using it a lot since I've started using this device on a daily basis, and it's super useful. So what I'm going to do is talk you through it. I'll show you some proper examples of me using it and show you all the little features that it has as well. So for those of you watching right now, this is kind of like an introduction into this feature. But for those of you watching in the future or a bit further down the line, this is probably going to be a useful how-to as well. Just before we get into it, don't forget you can head to spvids.com and pick up my drum packs to help support what I do here. Or you can head to my Teespring website as well, where I've got loads of SP and lo-fi related t-shirts that you can purchase as well. So both those things help me keep doing what I'm doing here, and it's very much appreciated. Okay, let's get the Mark II set up on the desk and I'll talk you through this chopping feature. Right guys, here we are at the device, and I've already loaded a sample in here. I can't load samples in via YouTube because I'll just get copyright strikes for it. So there's a sample on my pad 1, just a simple little thing, and this is what we're going to chop up. So to get to the chopping area is really simple. Obviously you need to select the pad that you want to chop, so it's this pad. So I've selected that now just by pressing it, and then you hit shift and start end, and as you can see underneath there it says chop. And because of the new screen on the SP404 MK2, obviously we get to see the waveform in the screen, which is just fantastic. This actually does look like it could do with normalizing, but for the sake of this tutorial, we should be okay just to work with this. So yeah, this could be a little bit deeper, this waveform, but it's enough to work with for now. So this is what you'll see when you come to the chopping area. Obviously there's nothing going on at this point. You can zoom in and out using the value dial here, which is another new feature of the SP404 MK2, the value dial. So you can use that to zoom in if you want to, but you can't actually change the start or end point or anything here. That's literally all you can do in this first screen. So what we need to do is go into the menu, which is at the bottom right here. You can see it says menu, and the way you do that is by pushing in the value button. So you hit that, and you've got a few options here. You have a little dialog menu. I think that's the correct term for it, a dialog menu. Auto mark, assign to pad. There's no point doing that yet because we haven't done anything, but we will need that later. Delete all marks, again, we haven't set any yet, so that comes later, or cancel. So if you do cancel, you just come straight back out. So the first thing I'll do is show you the auto marking feature. You hit auto mark and you come to this new screen. So you can see here it says C2, C3. That's referring to the dials at the top, control 2 and control 3. So starting from the yellow one here, that's control 1, 2 and 3. So control 2 is actually going to change what mode this chops in. There's a couple of different modes you can use. Control 3 is going to allow you to change the parameter, which is usually directly below it, I think. So here you can see we've got time division, and we can choose how many chops we're going to do all the way up to 16. Now this question has already been asked in the comments. There is a maximum of 16 chops that you can do, obviously because you're limited to one bank essentially. So yeah, you're only going to be able to do a maximum of 16 chops on any one sample. You can't go onto a new bank and continue to sample like you can with the MPC. So there's a little bit of a limitation there, but I mean, I don't think I've ever used more than 16 chops in one beat. That would be some going. So 16 has always usually been enough for me, but obviously everyone's got different workflows. You guys might like chopping more, but yeah, unfortunately it is limited to 16. So yeah, we can go ahead and do time division if we want to. Okay, so next up here in the options, we've got the level, and what this does is it adds a marker at the location in the sample where the level exceeds a certain value. And with C3 here, you can literally change that dial to whatever level you want to do. So if you want it to only capture the loud stuff, you obviously turn it up. If you want it to capture more stuff in the volume range, then you can turn it down. I personally don't think that's that useful really, but I guess it could be for drums. Maybe if you wanted to just get the kicks and snares but not the hi-hats, for example, maybe that could work. I don't know. Not sure on a practical use for that one as yet, but I'm sure maybe at some point in the future it may be useful. And then we turn it one more time and we've got transient. Now this lets you choose between hard, mid and soft. So this adds a marker at a location in the sample where there is a large change in the volume. And an example of that is when a kind of sharp sound or a sound with a very strong attack will hit. Now this mode I think will be especially useful for drum hits because obviously it's generally easier to chop drum loops on using the transient. They're the three ways that you can chop. I think with the time division, one thing that I want to point out is that this just seems to divide it into equal sections. It doesn't really listen to the tempo. So I've tried tapping in the tempo with tap tempo to get the tempo set to the same as the chop, and then try to chop like that and see if it gets it on the beat, but it doesn't seem to work like that. How it seems to work is it just chops it into 16 equal sections, or however many chops you choose with dial 3, that's how many times it will chop it evenly. That's from what I can tell from my initial research at the moment. So if we wanted to cancel out of this and not chop, we can just press exit, which is down here on the left, and that takes you out of it. What I'm going to do is actually manually chop this now, and I've actually repitched it, so hopefully I don't get some kind of copyright strike. I've realised I'm going to have to go through this full sample maybe. And what you can do to start chopping it manually is just hit this pad. The sample will start playing, and then you can use the other pads to set your mark points. Now the next pad will highlight automatically in blue, and when you hit that, that means that the chop has been assigned. So let's go through and do a couple, and then I'll do the rest off screen so that I don't end up getting a copyright strike. But yeah, let's go ahead and start manually chopping this. So I'm going to hit pad 1. Okay, so I went through there and I chopped on all the points that I wanted to, and the great thing now is that you can go and edit these points if you want to, so you can also preview them as well. So they're in a kind of a little mute group. They don't have gate on them, so that is kind of a little bit annoying because they keep playing all the time, but they cut each other off, so that's useful. Now, if you want to go in and edit the points that you've already created, so you've previewed them here and you're not quite happy with them, you can zoom right in with the value dial here, nice and easy. You can get right into the waveform. You can go to 11 times zoom, so you really can get right up close to where you want these. And you can also jog along them using Control 3 as well. As you can see along the top again, it's giving you a little bit of a description of what each dial does. So C3 here, or Control 3, is select. So you go through and select your chop in point. You can see that that's going along the list there, highlighting them backwards and forwards. And you can also see on the pads that it's changing the highlight as well. So you can perfectly see what chop you're on, and you can go into it and then you can zoom right in, and now I can use the middle dial, the blue dial, or Control 2, and I can use that to move the position to wherever I want it to move to. I can then keep previewing it if I want to. And I'm going to zoom back out. I'm happy with that. And of course you can go through and do every single chop like that, get them absolutely perfect. And then once you're happy with the chops that you've got, what you have to do is press the value button again to get into the menu. And what we're going to need to do now is assign to pad. And this is where the other options come in on this menu. So you've got assign to pad, delete all marks. If you want to start again, you can delete all marks there. I want to go ahead and assign these to the pads now. So assign to pad. Now Control 2 mark, Control 3 is gate. So if you want gate to be off when you chop these samples, that just makes this a little bit quicker so you don't have to go through and do it individually. You can turn that off and on using dial 3. I'm going to have that off because I'm most likely going to make a mute group. One good feature to notice is that it doesn't tell you here is the value dial lets you choose where you start the chops from. So you can see here at the moment it says auto assign from E1 on the second line here. But E1 is my original sample. I'm most likely going to want to keep that in case I want to do anything with it in the future as kind of a little backup. So you can use the value dial to change that. I'm going to set it to E2 so that it basically starts on the blank pads. It's not going to overwrite that. Then you can either hit the pads to assign all the samples to them in order, or one feature which I really like here is if you just hit mark, it will automatically assign them to those pads. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit mark. And there you can see it's completed. Now here, this is where you have to be careful because it says completed, but it hasn't actually assigned these to the pads yet. That's just saying it's completed the chopping of them. So that is a little bit confusing because a few times I've come out of that and then pressed cancel and it's removed all my marks. I've had to start again. So now you can see here on the screen it says enter to chop. So be really careful when you pick up this unit. You might get frustrated if you accidentally come out of that mode because it's told you it's completed. So you go ahead and hit enter on the value dial. And it says working, and it's pretty quick at doing this as well. The operation is complete, so it is definitely complete now, and you know that because it defaults back to the normal screen. And now all my chops are chopped up and on the pads. I'm going to go ahead and put all these in a mute group. I don't need the first pad actually. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then all you have to do is press escape to come out of that, and it's done. You don't have to do any sort of confirmation with the mute group. Okay, so there you can see all the chops are on the pads. I've put them in a mute group and I can start to build ideas for a beat straight away. Okay, so after you've done the chopping, you may want to go and do a bit more work on these samples. Say if you haven't got the start points quite right, you can't go back on the sample because these are all individual files now in a way. They're all isolated, but you can go forward if you've put in a mark point that's still so early. So if we go to 2 and we do start and end, and I'm going to zoom right in, and I can see here now I've gone 7 times zoom. I can see there's some dead space at the start of this sample. If we go further, obviously, we can see even more. So I can put that right up to the start, and I can do menu truncate again. Come back out of that. And that sounds absolutely perfect now. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope this gave you a really good insight into how the chopping feature works on the Mark II. For those of you that are watching in the future, like I mentioned before, hopefully this was a really good how-to guide and now you can go and use this fully. I really like this feature. I've been using it all the time and I think it's super easy to use as well, and it's just amazing having this on an SP device. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you're new around here, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, and if you found this video useful as well, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that thumbs up. It just lets YouTube know that this content was worth watching. So please do that if you can, but apart from that, just keep making beats guys on whatever devices it is that you own, and I'll be back with more content very soon. Peace!